All right, so now that we've warmed up our bodies dynamically, we're prepared for movement, we've warmed up our hands and our feel for the ball through the ball manipulation, it is time to get into a ball dribbling warm-up or workout. I did highlight a few moves on the last video. I'm going to go through a few moves today that will do stationary, which means just in one spot. In videos to come, we'll do the same dribble moves in a forwards, backwards motion. And then in another video closer to the end of the school year, we'll use the exact same moves, but we'll be going laterally side to side. That's the hardest one of the dribble warm-ups that I use with some of our younger athletes. It is a different way of moving, but it really is useful in the game of basketball when you can drag defenders sideways laterally. And if you are a little bit of a longer, taller player, you can really create some great advantages from these lateral sideways moves. If you think Kevin Durant, he's great with that exact move that I just did, with that dribble drag, and he creates a lot of separation, okay? So basic moves, and then we'll slowly start layering in different motions to add some difficulty and game likeness. First one we do is just some simple dribbling. So the first thing we want to be able to do is get into a nice athletic position. So I usually say feet should be outside of our shoulders. So it's like we're standing here, I want to step outside. So I want to be very wide. Next, my hips have to be low. All right, there's no way around it. To be exceptional at basketball, you have to have low hips. It's that simple, all right? So our hips are low, my chin is not sticking way forward, which is gonna pull me forward. It's gonna strain my backside a little bit, so my chin is tucked within my knees. So from a side profile, I'm here, I'm not leaning over. So I'm pretty comfortable, you know, it's not the most comfortable, it's not the worst. And if you had a piece of paper, you would actually be able to slide it underneath my heels. I'm ever so slightly loaded onto the balls of my feet, okay? So right here, that's kind of where my weight is. And that's where I'm ready to explode in any direction. And we actually call this position triple threat, especially when the ball's loaded on our hip. I'm a right-handed player, so I kind of like to load the ball just inside my belly button right here on the right side. Triple threat. From here, I can shoot the ball, I can pass the ball, and I can drive and attack. So I can do three things. I'm a full threat or a triple threat at that point. So we're gonna get used to playing in that position through these dribble workouts. Now I'm a little bit older and a little bit out of shape, so I may cheat at times. Feel free to call me on that, but that's not an excuse for you guys. You have to stay low. All right, let's get started. So the first dribble move is the pound dribble. So listen to what a regular dribble sounds like. All right, and that's okay, but that's not a game dribble. Listen to what a pound dribble sounds like now. So big difference. Now in a game, you're not going to be running around dribbling like that. But anytime you dribble a little bit lighter than that, it's actually easier. So you want to train at the highest level, and when you do get to game situation, we let those skills come out through what we call flow or through the zone. And it is always a little bit easier to do something that you've done before to a high degree. So we want to train harder than we play. Pound dribbles is a great way of doing that. It also forces you to control the dribble much more, and essentially when we're dribbling, it is all about the control. So I'm going to be dribbling the ball purposely right outside of my baby toe, all right? And I'm going to tell you to look at it as we're dribbling and learning. Eventually, your mind muscle, we call it muscle memory, it's actually neuron memory, nerve memory, that's a science lesson for another day. But it will remember how it feels to dribble right off of our baby toe, right outside. And eventually, I can look up, but my body's subconsciously doing what I want it to do. And that's purposeful training. We'll actually do a lecture about that later. So this is where we want the first dribble to land. I'm telling you to look at it until eventually you don't need to, and that dribble stays right there. It's not kind of all over the place. So the first one, knee-high dribble. Ball cannot come higher than the knee, and we're pounding it down. If you gotta look, go ahead. Next one, we're gonna do pound dribbles, but ankle height or as low as you can go. So right hand still. On the last pound dribble, we want to stay in this very low position, but I want the ball to come up as high as my head and shoulder and pound it down. Here's a good training tip. Don't let the head and hips move up with the ball. So we'll do the same series with our opposite hand, and if you can only dribble and play with one of your two hands, you're half a player. You have to be able to be essentially indistinguishable what hand you are until you shoot. So a coach should be able to come into the gym and essentially not know what hand you are until you take a pull-up jump shot. Okay, so you should be confident passer and dribbler with both hands, and that does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of losing the ball, a lot of frustration, but the people that stick it out really become successful. And think of Kyrie and some of these other amazing players that can really handle the ball quite well. So same series, left hand, we go knee-high pounds, we go ankle pounds, and shoulder-high or head pounds. Something that I didn't talk about on the first part was what do we do with this offhand? It's called the offhand, but it's actually not just off doing nothing. It's a very important hand. It's got a lot of important roles. When I was growing up and I was your age, we were taught to play with the arm bar. So as I would be dribbling, my offhand would be like this with a fist, and it would be to push people away, all right? Realistically, in today's very fast-paced game where everybody can shoot the ball, the arm bar is no longer a good position. It's hard to get open to shoot the ball quickly. What we do now, and this is something that Kobe did so well in his career, is play with the shadow hand. So like a sunny day, if I run and move around, my shadow's following me. And that's what the shadow hand does, is it follows the basketball. Instead of a fist, it's now open palm, thumb to the sky, and at any time, I can pop the ball and I'm immediately up into a jump shot. So I'm actually speeding myself up even more here, okay? So the shadow hand, I like to tuck my elbow in. It's not rigid, it's loose, it can move, it can shoot through. I can still flex everything here and hold the player off, even though it's extended, all right? But it's here, tucked, and it mirrors. It's just a few inches from the ball. So as I go through this pound series, that shadow hand, I'm not twisting, but it's reaching across to protect the ball. And if I have to, boom, and I'm up into a quick jump shot. So knee-high pounds, ankle pounds, shoulder pounds, but also working the offhand, not just the dribble hand. So let's get better multiple ways as we practice, all right? It's gonna speed up your improvements. So the next move after the pounds is gonna be the inside-out dribble or the push-pull. I prefer push-pull because it really tells you what you're doing with the ball, but it's also an inside-out dribble. So I'm gonna go right hand, so I'll start with maybe one dribble, but then it's push, pull, in, out, in, out, in, out. Now here's some tips to help you. Notice how, again, I'm using my good friend, the red line. You might want to use a crack or even a chalk line is really good. And I keep the ball on this total sideways line. At no time do I want the ball moving off of that, okay? So I push the ball with my shoulder. Keeping your elbow straight gives you more control. The more you bend the elbow, the more difficult the move becomes. So I push it. Once I get to about my belly button, I roll my shoulder and wrist over and I pull it back. So again, I'm using my shadow hand. It's staying that same distance from the ball, almost like I'm windshield wipers. I even say I'm holding that cafeteria tray or like McDonald's tray. My hands are the same distance. This will add rhythm and instantly make this dribble feel a lot more natural. So it's push, pull, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And I often do talk myself through drills, and it links the movement to my mind much better. The faster I talk, the faster I do the movement. And again, it's just some science there. Couple different versions of the push-pulls. I will show you both right now. So there's little tiny push-pulls where just the wrist is rolling over the ball. All right, just the wrist. And then there's big swooping push-pulls where we get the ball moving outside my frame both sides. So we also have push-pulls on the side of our body, so right next to our ankle bone. So this time I'm going to use the white line, and I want the ball to push, pull, push, only on the white line. The harder we dribble, the easier it will become to some extent. So I push it, pull it, push it, pull it, push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. Same idea, and it gives me a really good control on the side of my body. Next move we're going to get into is a crossover. I'll show you two different types. I get really wide, I'm going to drop my hips. I want that ball landing between my legs. So again, straight elbows, so you give me added control. It's a shoulder dribble and a wrist dribble. I'm literally just going to push the ball side to side. So it's push, 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 push. So fairly tight. If you want to get as small as you can, great. The second crossover, we're going to get very low and we're really going to push it outside. We're going to lean with it and we're just really getting wide and having some fun with that move. All right, so we're going to go to behind the back. So I treat the behind the back as a crossover that's just happening behind your body. So a lot of the time we see athletes kind of stick their waist out to try to go behind. Well, now they're in a very unathletic position. We can't do much from here. So I want you to do the opposite. Instead of you sticking this forward, I want you to stick it out. Now look at all this space. We call that negative space. That's where I want the ball to go. So it's not actually behind the back at all. It's an under the butt, all right? So I'm gonna get very low, and I'm going to do a couple dribbles to get comfortable. So I'm going to go pound, behind, pound, behind. And see how I'm just catching it? I'm just getting used to how it feels. And again, it's okay to look down. Okay, I'll use that red line if you need to. Now we're going to add some rhythm to it. We're not going to catch it anymore. Pound, behind, pound, behind, pound, behind, pound, behind, pound, behind. All right? When you're very comfortable, let's take those pounds away. And now it's just behind, 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 behind. Or push, 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 push. All right? So have some fun with that. Don't stick our waist out, stick our waist back. Now we're athletic, and it's just staying underneath our thighs. If someone wants that ball, they've got to physically foul us for it.